And welcome back to Perth, WA and the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. We're here today and are going to be watching the Australian men play the German men. We'll cross now to your game commentators, Max Strenham and Claire Hussey.
Thanks, Joy. Yes, what an exciting game we've got lined up for you here. We've got a strong-looking German team who this morning they played the Philippines and they beat them strongly 11-5. And we've got an also incredibly strong-looking Australian Goannas who beat the Canadian team 15-4. Did you have a peek at that game, Max?
I was commentating another game at the time, but I spent a lot of time looking over my left shoulder, catching what I could. And I've also spoken to a couple of their coaches in the intervening couple of hours. One thing that they did mention to me was, while they were very happy with how they played, they can't get complacent. It was far from perfect, and they've got to find another level. Canada had a couple of maybe uncharacteristic drops, a couple of throwaways, and Australia can't expect to get that lucky every game, so they're looking to come back out here at 100%, take every point like it's their last.
Yeah, that's so important. Okay, we've got Germany coming out on D here.
And Australia on offense, they'll look to open their account. That's a nice pull. It's an outside in, coming back into the field. And immediately it looks like Germany will be going to their zone. And Australia will have to play some zone offense. And unfortunately, despite the best efforts of Cheng, the disc has gone to turf.
It's got Schaub picking up the disc for the German D-line, who are now playing O. Oh, miss. Just missed him, but he backed himself up and got down and scooped that one up. Germans will want to pop this one in. It'll be a great start for them if they can break off their first D point. Saw the Germans warming up. They were doing some great footwork drills and looking very fighting fit. Will they be phenomenal in this game?
Australia working hard to get it back, putting a lot of pressure on the resets now.
Lars Schmidt, one of the twins on the D-line, just moved that for a swing and then would pop to goal in to his twin, actually, Jan Schmidt.
But hold on, it looks like there's a call of some description. Might have been a pick, perhaps. We're not getting a lot of hand signals. Looks like there's a bit of discussion between a couple of players at the front of the stack. Andrews taps it back in.
Finds Lars Schmidt. The Schmidt twins working hard together, obviously knowing each other pretty well. They're upside down reverse numbers. And lovely goal there. They're going to be quite pleased to have taken that break straight off the mark.
Absolutely. Obviously no team wants to get broken out of the gates, and that's just exactly what's happened to Australia. It looked quite nice moving it through the cup and then finding a hole in the wall to shoot through, but perhaps a little hasty, pushed a pass that they didn't need to push, and they had the early turnover.
D-line have done their job there for the German team. Got the block, popped the goal.
It was Jeremy Haar that had that unfortunate throwaway in that point for the Australians, and I was having a chat to him before the game, asked him how he was feeling, especially after this morning's incredible performance against the Canadians going up 15-4. We've spoken about that already. And he said that the vibe in the team, the feeling in the team was a little bit different this afternoon. And I said, what do you mean? How, different in what kind of way? And he said, I'm not sure if we're incredibly focused or don't quite have the level of intensity that we need to. He couldn't tell if it was a quiet focused or if it was everyone's sitting at maybe 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10, not able to find the extra energy.
Yeah, it's pretty tough early in the tournament to find that perfect feeling. It'll probably take a couple of days to settle in. Goanna's on O now.
And they'll get another chance. Looks like an unchanged line out there. The coach is having full faith in the opposition, in the offense to get the job done. Andrews with the disc on the far side. Germany again in a bit of a zony look.
Yep.
Now looking to transition.
Oh, they've got the turn again.
And Andrews through the fingers.
German pressure here is really rubbing up Australia early in this game. See if they can get it back. Strong throw to the open side. And another Lars Schmidt goal. Germany take the lead, 2-0. Sounding strong, pumping out their powering noises. I heard them doing a really rousing warm-up cheer, which has obviously set them on the right path.
Looks pretty impressive from up here in the commentary booth, but we'll go down to the sideline and see what it's looking like from down there. Joy, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks, Max. Obviously really early days in this game, but I have to say I did watch a bit of the game Australia v Canada this morning, and the vibe is completely different. Quite a bit more quiet on the sideline for now. The Germans are confident, serious, and have now put 2 on the board, so we'll see how things pan out as the game progresses.
Thanks, Joy. I was having a chat to the Australian coach before this game, and he mentioned that he feels his team plays best when they're playing with swagger. And I think part of that comes from a confidence and in a belief in the rest of their teammates. And maybe right now we're not seeing that. The body language of the Australians, both on the line and on the sideline, is a little bit heads down, shoulders slumped, not quite where they'd want to be at this point of the game.
Nice pull from Charles, deep in front of the end zone.
Bocce with the disc. Gann to Andrews. The Germans sticking with this zone that's proved effective so far as Australia go over the top. They find Cheng on the near side. Little give go, directing traffic, pointing where he wants it. Wants Australia to open up that deep space.
Germany with match D.
Looks like Australia's kept a relatively similar line, but brought over just a couple of players.
Massive bid there, but there's a call, and straight back to the Australian.
Scan with the disc. Germans have gone to match, and Australians have gone vertical. As they reach for Andrews, it gets taken away.
Lars Schmidt again with the D, finds his twin. Kraus. Bit of a high pop there, just missed the receiver.
The wind is coming a little bit left to right, as you'll see it on your screens. Nothing too severe at this stage, just something that the throwers will need to be aware of and the players will need to take account for as the disc comes in and they need to watch it into their hands. Relatively deep vertical stack for the Australians. As Evans reaches for Andrews again, and again too far.
This pool is Pool B. The other teams in the pool are Canada and Philippines. As we mentioned before, there's 4 pools of 16 teams. After pool play, the teams will go to power pools before heading to quarters. Germany on offense. Looking for the dump.
Oh.
Finds the second option, but doesn't manage to hit him.
Gann immediately picking up the disc, looking to get the job done quickly. Pivots around his mark. Beautiful around backhand. Finds Grimman at the front corner, and Australia open their account and put one on the board. That's 2-1.
That'll be a relief for Australia, who really needed to convert that to feel like they have got foot in this game at the start.
We saw Alex Gann willing to pivot through a fair bit of contact after that pickup. Australians happy to play through a bit of contact when they have to if it means that it gives them the opportunity. It's not always to their advantage to stop the game and take away the momentum of their offensive players downfield. And now the Goannas D-line with an opportunity to get a break back on the board and get their team fired up.
Have a look at the German offense now. We've got another set of twins on the German team who both find themselves on the O-line. They are the Volbergs, Andreas and Marcel, number 22 and 24. Gone out into a horizontal structure with Australia popping a zone on which may upset their plan. But they're looking pretty calm at the moment, happy to just keep it moving while they figure out how to work the disc around these well-spaced, strategically placed goannas. Very happy.
Looks like they're playing a relatively loose zone D look here by the Australians. Looks like we've got a couple of guys up front trading time on the mark. A few players sitting in that short space, and then they've got two of their big men hanging deep. And the goannas are not short on big men. At the moment, they've got Mueller and Cook hanging out in that deep space.
I made a mistake before. The other twin is Martin Voliba, number 44. And 24 and 22, Voliba and Hartman have been doing a lot of back and forthing here. They seem pretty okay with that, just keeping it going, seeing what they can get. Not getting rattled by this Australian D. They're also not progressing so much at the moment.
Yeah, the Germans look very calm in the situation, throwing a lot of passes and looking very happy to do it. This group of players have been together for a long time. For them, their campaign started all the way back in May 2016, so they've been together for quite a while and have building that chemistry over time. And we can see that here with how comfortable they are, just chipping it around, waiting for the opportunities to open up downfield.
At the last under-24 tournament, the German team finished 7th. They'll be looking to improve on that this event, no doubt. They've completed a very large number of passes here. The Australians are going to want to increase the pressure, perhaps, to roll them up. They're moving them backwards.
I think at this point, regardless of the outcome of this point, the Australian coaches will be happy with this defensive effort. They've changed the pace of the game, adjusted the tempo, and made the Germans throw a lot of passes.
That's right, and reducing the number of goals they might eventually get. What an amazing grab.
Incredible take. Incredible take, under pressure as the hammer came in.
That was Hornschimmer with a layout grab, saving the possible turn.
And that's the kind of throw that this zone is encouraging. Make the opposition frustrated with the lack of progress and having to go backwards and sideways a whole lot, and make them take that risky option. And in a wind like this, it's not heavy, but it's just enough to force those hammers and scubas and overhead shots to turn over and blade into the ground.
Good bit there. And I think the goannas have just gone to man. They've changed, to match defense. Let's see if the Germans can capitalize on this change. Looks like they have. Straight in for the goal.
Bit of a miscommunication there during the transition. It's a bit of a classic situation when you transition from the zone defense into a match run. It's well known as the weakest moment in the defensive look, and we saw why often players can go missing and unguarded.
Spanuth getting the goal there. I don't remember him touching the disc in the early stage of that point, so he was patiently camping out deep until that transition when he pounced, got into space and took that beautiful throw down. And then I saw a cheeky little celebration. He and his teammate, bit of bent over low fiving. Here we go. Whoa, pretty cool.
That's good high five technique. I liked the use of the hips in that one.
Yeah.
And that's another German goal. That's 3-1.
Just a quick shout out to Andy Turner, who is having a birthday as we speak. Happy birthday, Andy Turner. Hope it's a great day for you.
Australia on offense now. Germans with a zone of their own. We'll see how the Australians respond. Can they be as patient, cool, calm and collected as the Germans were? They're moving it quickly. They're finding a whole lot more space than the Germans did in the Australian zone. Grimmond with the disc. He'll look to pilot this offense downfield with a whole toolkit full of interesting throws. And it looks like we've got a foul call on the mark that will be quickly uncontested.
On the mark, we've got number 47, Schlor. He has also played for Pony in New York and also in the AUDL.
The Germans have transitioned into a match look now. A bit of a miscommunication there from DeBell and Foreman, and the Germans have the disc.
Lars Schmidt all over it again. Metzger. Scholl. Lays a big one out and a humongous leap to get that by Metzger. Swinging it happily at the back here. Pushed to the limits, but seem okay with it. Another contested grab. Schlor pulled that down. Oh, and just one step too much. That was
an uncontested foul there on Grimmond. Great spirit, despite the adrenaline that's no doubt pulsing through his body after a layout like that. Immediately doesn't contest, as there was a bit of contact on that throw.
Shaw goes up the line. Looked off, but the goal comes behind to Jan Schmidt.
You can't fault the goalies for not putting in effort on their D there. It'll be disappointing for them to have given the disc away. They left it all out on the field and trying to get it back. A number of opportunities, forcing the Germans to go horizontal a couple of times. And now the Australians have dug themselves a little bit of a hole. They're down 4-1. And for a little bit more information, we'll go to Joy Lee on the sideline.
Yeah, thanks, Max. No specific info, but just what I've kind of noticed here on the sideline. Goannas are playing well, but what are they going to have to do to try and insert this swagger, as you say, into their play? Sometimes, if you're not feeling it naturally, you have to act that way. So hopefully we can see that come into their play the next few points.
Thanks, Joy.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. Tried and tested technique when it comes to mental attitude and emotional space in a game like this. And maybe the goalies need to employ a bit of that now.
If you're wondering what a goey is the shortened term for goanna, which is an Australian monitor lizard. More on them later.
Australians with the disc. Germans in their zone look again. Looks like they play a poachy match downfield with a zone up the front. Bocce with the disc. Andrews. Huge hammer, absolutely
Pitch
monstrous
length
hammer. Looking for Cheng. Now look, Rob Andrews barely needs an introduction within Australia, but outside, maybe worth noting, he's a young phenom on the Australian scene. Recently played in Poland at the World Games. He played with the Dingoes in 2016, the Australian men's team at the World Ultimate and Guts Championship. And he's really stamped his authority on the youth scene in Australia as one of the premier men's players. And you can see why with skills like that.
Germany with their looking more vertical stack. Patience again. Now the big pump. Amazing catch by Johann Schall. Read that amazingly. Now back to being calm. Kraus looking for an option. Finds a dump in Schall. Oh, that was a little bit of an ambitious throw. Not really sure where he was hoping to put that. His teammate couldn't get on the end of it even with a big dive. And we've got a massive put from Australia to a very open.
Brendan Kanziri. Rob Andrews again launching one deep.
Look at that.
Finds Kanziri just outside the end zone, who eventually has Cheng for the quick flip. That was an incredible throw from Andrews. First the full length of the field hammer, then the backhand, and eventually a connection that leads to a goal.
That's what we call a fast break. Australia forced the turn and then didn't hesitate, didn't set up a structure, picked the disc up, got it going while the German defense was not set. Took the opportunity and pulled it down really easily.
We should take this opportunity to give a quick shout out to our sponsors who've been keeping us hydrated and fed all this week. Emma and Tom's, our wonderful fresh food sponsors. All of their products are sugar-free, 100% natural and minimally processed. So if you are around the site this week, head on over to the kiosk to get your hands on some. I know I've got a little bag of veggie nuts, spinach and kale coated on the desk in front of me. They taste delicious and would highly recommend them.
So Germany back on over, they're 4-2 up. Australia powering down on defense. Set a structure, a zony looking structure. Hassling the handlers, who are keeping calm. Voliber.
Australia in a bit of a zony look here, responding with their own defensive looks.
Ramping up the pressure here.
Dan Petrov throwing himself around on the mark and in the cup, just trying to create a bit of chaos among these German handlers.
Martin, Voliber and Mayer looking very comfortable back there, being cautious, throwing and going when they can. They are getting pushed back again though. They're back in their own end zone. There's an opportunity for a Callahan here, which is why we're seeing so much pressure from the Australian defence.
Deep in Callahan country, now they're looking to get it out.
Found a little window of opportunity, and Australia are calling for the transition to man. Sideline very, very loud here, helping the teammates out. We've got a big put, and it's run down, but just missing out. That was Hun Schimmer who sent that.
Hun Schimmer able to generate plenty of separation from Foreman, but the throw just a little too far. With the wind behind it, it sailed away and didn't sit for the receiver.
That's right.
Foreman, a product of the Canberra Ultimate scene, played on the Australian juniors team, the under-20s team in Poland in 2016. The youngest member on this Goannas team, showing that he can mix it with the big boys. Blinky Bill is what they refer to him as on the team.
Any ideas why? Blinky Bill?
Absolutely none. It's just what I heard. I was having a brief chat to some of them earlier, and here he is with the disc, and he'll just pass it straight back.
Hopefully he doesn't blink too much and keeps his eyes open long enough to complete all the options that come to him.
I hope so. He's a very fine player. Fortunately there, Petrov's throw straight into the shins, it looked like, of the German defender.
There were two defenders there, and not sure why he thought he could squeeze it through, but he gave it a go.
Lachlan Murphy, one of the very big lads on this Australian team, showing his aerial dominance, swatting that one away. Lim with the disc. Grimmin. Australia look a little messy in their setup here. It's not quite clear what they want. And DeBell gets absolutely cleaned up
by Schlutzer. Bit of a dangerous bid there, I think.
And DeBell does not look happy. He's down on the ground, clutching at his lower leg. A huge impact. Both players only had eyes for the Frisbee as we see it again.
Just taking his legs out there.
I just saw a collision between them.
Yeah, I couldn't tell who was at the space first.
Maybe able to get a bit more of the audio from the game advisors as they come in to help clarify the situation. Obviously, we never want to see an injured player in Ultimate, and especially not an international event like this. And it looks like he'll be okay. He'll be helped off the field by the support staff.
Yeah, contact's inevitable in such high-intensity games. these tournaments where everyone's in it to win it. But the players are always keeping their minds safety as an important part of the game.
Absolutely. And I think, obviously, DeBell's hurt himself and has had to come off there. But that won't detract from the overall spirit of the game. One of the unique features and one of the, in my mind, one of the greatest aspects of our sport is what we refer to as spirit of the game. And we've seen great displays of it already here in the self-officiation that occurs and the trust placed in both their own teammates and the opposition by all the players in this match. As Petrov shoots deep, he's got Evans and Gann underneath. And Evans elevates. He says, this one's up in the air. That's my area of expertise. And the kick spike to finish it off.
The only player on the team with double plats. Very impressive.
It's a look that I believe he's been working on since the last Goannas campaign, which he was a part of. Hasn't trimmed the hair since then.
Wow. Must be some interesting aromas trapped in those plaits.
I'd like to think that he's washed it, but when it comes to Ash Evans, you can never be 100% sure.
Well, the Germans are certainly getting close enough to have a sniff. Hopefully it's not pulling them off.
Maybe it's an offensive tactic, as we see again Petrov's inside flick, a nice throw. To Evans's advantage, he had loads of space. There were no Germans in there at all. The only decision he had to make was when he was going to catch it. And he takes it nice and high.
So Australians have closed the gap a little here. Brought it back to 4-3.
That was a break going upwind. So they'll be happy with that. See if they can continue to build this defensive momentum as Cook launches an outside-in backhand for the ball.
Germany there to stop the roll on the pull. Got that familiar-looking zone set up. And Germany ready to use their patience again.
Yeah, this Australian team is a true national team. They've got representation from every mainland state of the country, players from all the significant and major men's clubs in the country, as the Germans reach deep.
Schollen pulled that down, placed a beautiful one for the goal. That was pretty clinical. That's how you play against offense. Schlosser for the goal.
The German offense getting the job done there in relatively clinical, quick fashion. Being able to find a way through that Australian defense that was so stifling earlier and able to put that one in the back of the end zone for a goal.
I think the German team are one of the taller teams in the division, able to match the height of the Goannas. It's possibly one of the taller games we'll see.
And it does play into that classic Australian frizzy mentality of getting a bunch of big athletes and a bunch of big throwers and bombing it long. And while the Goannas definitely have that in their arsenal and they're not afraid of taking those options, as we saw earlier with Rob Andrews launching a few, they've also got the skills and the pace and the technique to play the small ball game when they have to.
This pull has come out really high, sailing, and it's going to stay in the end zone. That is a really nice pull.
Plenty of hang time underneath that as Ha collects it. Does find a hole through the wall,
That was visionary.
Does go straight to a German player.
Oh, that's right. Germany looking a little bit frantic now, desperate to get this one in. Pressure from the D there.
Yeah, McGuckin does a great job, if not of getting a hand on it, just enough to put enough pressure to cause the German player to drop it. And continues his run deep, but the throw doesn't come. In the end, Ha now has the disc.
Jan Schmidt covering that deep look, put off the throw.
Inside forehand, there's a number of players underneath. Germany's got the height. Schmidt secures the block.
Very solid defender there in Jan Schmidt. Immediate reply, we've got a huck finding its way to number 12, Kraus, who waits patiently for a teammate to come along. Doesn't want to force it straight into the end zone. We know that that often results in turnovers. Sven Jan Schmidt, who pops a lovely high one, which sails over the Australian defence happily for a goal. We'll
Rob Andrews not able to pull that one down. And we'll go down to Joy Lee on the sideline for another perspective.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I just tried to follow up with DeBell, the injured player who came off the field, a couple of points ago with that contact on field. And not entirely sure what the nature of his injury is yet, but he's managing to get up off the physio table and have a bit of a walk around, which is definitely a good sign. So fingers crossed for him.
Thanks for that, Joy. We do hope that he's okay. It's just a bump and that he'll be back soon. Looks like we've had a timeout called, and both teams will bring it into their huddles to have a bit of a chat and see what their plan is going forwards. Speaking to the Australian coaches earlier about their preparations coming into this tournament, obviously one of the unique aspects of the Under-24 World Championships is that you've got a limited time to prepare for conditions that you haven't experienced yet and against teams that you've never seen. And I was chatting to the Australian coach and he mentioned that in order to deal with that, their approach was just to try and get as much competitive game time under their belts as a unit as possible. That's why they went over to Manila for the Asia Oceanic Ultimate and Guts Club Championships, where they competed as a club and ended up coming third, so a very positive result there. They got, I believe, 8 games of high quality ultimate under their belts, building those connections, building the chemistry. Obviously, one of the challenges of being such a national team is that a lot of these guys haven't played together before, and forming those connections is crucial to their success.
Yeah, and for Germany, they've obviously got a closer proximity to a larger number of teams being in Europe, and they've had a test game which was held in May against Italy, and they also in November played a tournament in Bologna against the likes of GB, Italy again, Austria and Switzerland. So they've got a lot of experience against the European teams, but they obviously haven't seen the Asiana teams as much.
Goanna's back on offense. Ha picks up the disc and immediately throws a forehand just as the wind picks up, and you can see it impact that throw. Huge bid by Petrov.
Johann Schall. Kraus. Lays one up. It's a bit of a wobbler, but collected safely, and a timeout is called by Germany by Schall.
Germany seeing an opportunity for another break and seeing an opportunity to really build their lead and get close to taking half. They're currently sitting at 6-3. Taking 7-3 would be a significant step in taking this game away. The Goannas just looking a little bit off the pace right now. Half a step slow, perhaps, in reacting on defense, and some of their option taking looks a little bit frantic and a little bit forced at times.
Yeah, I wonder if they've got any strategies built into their squad to change the feeling in the team during a game. That's always a really tricky one, and it's something that I guess the coaching staff need to keep an eye on, because as a player, when you're wrapped up in a game, it's very difficult to recognise what's happening when you're so focused on what you're doing on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they do have those techniques in the toolbox, now's the time to pull them out, I'd say. When you're down 6-3.
You're obviously not out of reach. We've seen many games where they've where there's been a big comeback, but in games where they're so evenly matched, you really do need to to take things into your own hands to make that change happen. It's not just going to happen on its own.
No, you're absolutely right when you say we've seen comebacks. On this same field yesterday afternoon, the Australian mixed team, the Blue Bottles, came up against India and came out of the gates very strong, going up 7-1. India then went on a 7-point run to take half 8-7 and ended up closing out the game 12-11. So nothing is certain until the fat lady sings.
That's right. Germany managing to find connections under huge defensive pressure from the Australian goannas. Every throw is getting bid on here. Seems like they've been given the word to do that, but it hasn't quite paid off for them, and Germany have popped another one in through Kuhn. Celebrating that goal with a big hip 5. Or a high hip, perhaps.
And that's 7-3. That puts Germany on the doorstep of taking half.
Yep.
And we can hear from here the Australians are calling a line. They recognise the importance of this moment as momentum shifter for the rest of this game.
Yeah, they definitely came out with a response there, but didn't quite get the have the impact that they wanted. Though I'm sure Germany felt them on their shoulders.
Yeah, Germany doing a great job of absorbing that pressure so often that it's just enough to have a player bidding past you every now and then to force a drop or to force a missed throw, because you know the margins for error are so small. But the Germans able to keep their cool and complete those passes.
Yeah, that's right. Some teams do train with additional contact at training in order to handle something close to contact at a tournament, which is a good tactic. If you can get used to a little bit of contact that more powerful than you're actually going to get, you're going to be able to take anything at the tournament.
Very true. Now we've got the goannas again on offense going upwind. This is their power line, their strike line that they've called. We've got Grimmond fielding the pull.
The sailing pull, the defense already down by the time it hit the ground.
Davis will join him in the handless space. Gans back there as well. As he goes over the top. McGuckin and Murphy here underneath. Plenty of big boys. And the Goey's big boys do what they do best. Eat the pie. Gan reaching deep for Murphy. It's going to float. It's going to sail. McGuckin's coming in from behind. Can he keep it in?
Oh!
Lachlan Murphy plucks it out of the sky. But it looks like he may be out of the field. Got a few different perspectives coming in from players on and off the field.
Whether he was in or out, that was an incredible catch.
And landed out, so
We'll see if we can get a game advisor's opinion and perspective. See it again.
what do you think? I think you pushed me. Oh,
It's difficult to see on the replay.
I don't know who it was.
You can ask me or you can go to contest. So I felt it was a force out foul.
Yeah.
a force out foul. She's hey, right, so she said it was a force out. Said it was yeah, from you. Well, that's what she said.
Yeah, the contact.
We're losing sound with the game advisor there. But the discussion is around whether the Australian player was forced out by the presence of the German player.
With the benefit of replay and slow motion and technology, from my perspectives, it looked like it may not have been, just because the Australian player was on the inside. But of course, in a self-officiated game, it's up to the players on the field. And in this case, they've decided to send it back. Obviously, in those kinds of situations, it's very difficult to tell, as there's many things happening at once in a very small space of time. The disc is back in, and immediately Gan throws it to the German team. They'll be disappointed with that.
Germany looked off the deep, fast option, which was probably sensible. It was closely marked. Working it through, found the centre of the field. Very strong decision making from the Germans here. Only throwing to receivers who they're sure will get these discs. One more for the goal. They've taken half.
They have taken half indeed. I'm not sure if it was an interesting tactic or a bit of confusion among the Goannas. They seem to have a few different forces that point on defense. Either way, the Germans able to find a way through and get the goal, taking half 8-3.
Australia will have a fair bit to think about in this half.
Yeah, what do you think needs to be adjusted as we have another look at this wonderful goal from the Germans? In the end, a regulation pass to the chest.
Yeah, nice goal.
If you were the Australian coach, what would you be saying to the team, Hussey?
Look, I would be referring to previous situations where this team might have been in this sort of scoreline, if they have. If not, I'd be focusing on just a couple of key points. You don't want to put too many ideas into your team's head. You want to just keep it simple, going back to whatever their strengths are that they've had through the campaign and focusing on those rather than thinking about what they've done incorrectly so far.
All right, and we'll leave that there for the first half in this match between the Australian Goannas and the Germany men's under-24 team, and we'll be back soon.
Okay, we're back in at half-time. Germany versus Australia in the men's division of the under-24 World Ultimate Championships. Australia are in their huddle. They've got quite a few smiles on their faces, which I'm thinking is a good thing for them. They're definitely looking a little bit flat in their mood before the half finished, being 8-3 down. But I think that it looks like they've decided to change their vibe, which will hopefully improve their play. Often when, you know, we're feeling emotionally up, we will perform better, and looks like that's their game plan now.
Yeah, they've definitely got to find that swagger again. They've got to get their swagger back. Just having a quick chat in the booth about what we thought they needed to change and what was the key to their success, and we said Goannas are a team that make their best decisions when they're playing with swagger, when they've got that confidence to go out there, play with a bit of attitude. They end up making the right choices and getting the job done. Instead, they've maybe gone into their shells a little bit and then ended up forcing a few things as they've begun to feel frustrated.
Yeah, frustrated by this very, very confident, very clean German offense. They look like they've done this before. Some of them may have, but as a team, I haven't seen them at the World Championships as this particular team. So I'm very impressed with their professional attitude, professional appearance, and their really solid confidence in themselves.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All of the German team, bar 3, have pulled on a German jersey before this tournament. And for a bit more insight into what's going on down there on the sideline among the players, Joy.
Yeah, hi. I just had the chance to listen to a little bit of the halftime chat there from the Goannas, and one of the coaching staff, you know, you're right, I think I heard from you guys up there, they were trying to change the mood, and I saw lots of smiles there, and the comments from the coaching staff were about playing for each other, about Frisbee time being team time. So showing what they've got in this half, not necessarily for a result, but to play well for themselves, for each other, and to really enjoy their Frisbee. So this is a team, like many teams, who plays perhaps a bit more confidently, a bit better when they're winning, but they're looking for a way here to find their best vibe, even though the score's not in their favour.
Thanks, Joy. Yeah, look, the score isn't in their favour. They've dug themselves a bit of a hole. It's 8-3 to the Germans. The Germans came out with a beautifully German-engineered offence, incredibly patient. We saw them in one of the zone points earlier throw close to 100 passes, I'd say, spending a lot of time in and around their end zone, passing it backward and forward, incredibly patient play, and in the end being rewarded for that safe, conservative play. You can hear now the Goies, the Goannas, the Australian team calling their opening line for the second half. They'll want to start strong, come out of the gates hard, get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, they're really sounding pumped. They were echoing the call of the line, really getting that team vibe going.
Clearly this is a bit of a strike D line. The Goies will be coming out on D. Who do we have? We've got Andrews, their World Games player, their star, Grimmond, the captain, Petrov, Murphy, who's been ruling the skies, Ha, Evans, and young Bill Foreman, who we spoke about earlier. Clearly getting the call up. He may be one of the younger members of this team, but he's showing he's playing a big part of their both offense and defense being called on at different times. So we'll see how he steps up to that added responsibility.
Yeah, the youngest player on the German team is Meyer. He's 19. He played at the under-20 tournament last year. Germany collecting the pull, centering the disc. Looking as snappy as ever. Loud, crisp catches. Beautiful break.
And Australia have transitioned to match.
Can we please get the USA women, the Australian mixed team, and the Japanese mixed team in line now? The USA women.
Another good decision. Chose the around break. Germans not moving the disc fast, just moving it at their own pace until they find the option they want. There's one nice and deep to number 53, Sholan. Can he bring it down? No. But his teammate is there to back him up. Hornschimmer gets up the scraps.
Yeah, look, it was a great effort by Lim and Andrews. They had a 2-on-1 initially. Andrews went up incredibly early, relying on his incredible athleticism, and no doubt he has that, but he went up a little bit too early even for himself. Couldn't haul it in, and obviously Adrian Lim, not the tallest guy on the team, not able to get the job done either. Smart German play, backing their teammates up, able to haul it in. So we see again, Andrews coming in, not able to time it quite right. And the Germans have broken out of half. Apologies, held out of half.
So I was talking about the Goanna, the Australian monitor lizards earlier, and just to fill you in on them a bit. So there's 20 different species of Australian monitor lizards, the longest being over 2 meters long, smallest around 20 centimeters, and one of their skills is to be able to puff up their necks to look more dangerous. I'm wondering if the Australian team have that skill in their arsenal.
Well, if they do, I'd be interested to see it. Jeremy Ha with the frisbee. In the middle of a cup. Finds Bocce on the sideline. Goes to Gan, who rips one deep. He's got Chang underneath.
Oh, big jump. Bit of contact on that, but no discussion. Lars Schmidt uses his height to whip that one down. Knock it out of the way. Germany back on offense. Looking to back up their previous score. Big put. Length of the field. Great D.
Brendan Canzieri does a great job of getting and maintaining position over the course of that huck. He hustled really hard and was rewarded, and now Australia have the disc again.
Slightly uncharacteristic from Germany. It wasn't a 100% option there. Another silky hammer.
Rips on deep. It looks like Australia's looking to throw a lot of deep shots now.
Oh!
They're reaching for Andrews, but it feels like they're starting to force the shots that aren't quite there.
Yeah, and Charles there, ready to bat it down.
In fact, I thought I saw, as that disc was in the air, Andrews shake his head at par after the throw.
Decision making maybe not their finest point at the moment. Jan Schmidt sticks one up. Another 50-50 contest, but yeah, Lars Schmidt comes down with it. The twin connection. Pops it in for the goal.
Saw there Cheng get beaten deep. It's not often that you see Cheng get beaten in a foot race. He is definitely and undisputedly one of the fastest men on this Goanna's team and one of the fastest men in Australian Ultimate. But the Schmidt brothers showing their equal athleticism to his, getting the job done, helped out by a pinpoint throw.
Yeah, and Charles all over the field. End-to-end action for him.
And Germany chalk up another one. The last time Australia scored, the scoreline was 4-3. It is now 10-3. Germany having gone on a huge run, and Australia unable to find an answer. They've looked for some long shots, they've looked for some short shots. They've tried throwing over the top, they've tried throwing around, they haven't found success. The shout just came from one of their sideline players, let's find some swag, goeies. And I think that's probably what they need to do.
Yeah, and I think they know it. It's just a matter of actually finding it. What we were saying before about faking it till you make it, I think that's their option right now. They've got to act like the team they want to be.
And Australia will play offense downwind. Murphy on the near sideline, finds Gan. Grimmin now. The Goeies employ what they call a hex offense on this line. It's a bit unusual. For a lot of people, it just looks like they're playing Zono most of the time, even when there's a match defense. The idea being there should always be multiple options to pass the disc to. So you see Grimmin with the disc. Finds Petrov on the near sideline. A couple of meters out now. It looks like we've got a travel call on Grimmin.
Germany sticking close on D, but Australia definitely winning the unders here in very intense battles, one-on-one.
And Grimmin will retie his shoelaces. I'm not sure if you can see, but he is wearing Goanna's socks. The team, all the Australian teams, in fact, got socks made for their players and for their supporters, and each has a couple of words on it representing what these players and what this team represents to them. as Petrov goes over the top to find Evans on the doorstep, who hits Gann for the goal.
Is Petrov representing Hammers there? He's standing for Hammers.
Absolutely, almost. As Australia break the drought, they take it to 10-4. Now, I believe the story with the socks is, on the left foot, on the Goannas socks, it says, cool swag. And on the right foot, it says, just jump. So I think that pretty much sums up the Goannas' approach to Frisbee, approach to Ultimate. Play with swag and just jump when the disc's above you. They've still got plenty of work to do, though. 6-point deficit to recover. They've still got plenty of time to do it in, though. And I wouldn't put it past them.
Wonder if the German teams have specialised socks. They might say, be organised and stick to the plan, which is exactly what they're doing right now.
Absolutely, and it's paying off. Andrews looks set to pull for the Australians. They'll be on defence.
Beautiful upwind pull, sailing to the front of the end zone. Collected by Martin Voliber. And deep stick.
And Linus Mueller, the Australian player, does a great job of getting involved in that. Interesting story about Linus. While he's playing for the Australians here, he actually played for the German under-20 team in 2012 at the World Junior Ultimate Championships in Dublin, Ireland. So he's had experience playing for both countries, but we can see where his allegiances lie now. He's clearly not a mole as he gets that block and gets Australia the disc back.
Oh.
And Rob Andrews takes a spectacular grab at about half field and immediately hammers. He's got Revai underneath. Thompson coming in from the side. And it looks like there'll be a bit of a chat. Revai maybe feels like he had the disc before the Germans swatted it away, but it looks like he'll retract and the turn will stand.
Pretty hopeful option there. A very high hammer into the wind, the incoming wind.
Yeah, very difficult shot. Maybe a bit of a case of the adrenaline after that incredible grab getting to Andrews. Germans moving it quickly through the Australian defence.
The Voliber's nice and comfortable back there. Hartman. Gone for another deep pop. 24, Marcel Hartman collects it calmly. Oh, bit of a collision there.
Wow. Huge amount of contact on Alex Leask.
Looked like Spanuth attempted a little juke cut to trick his player, but ended up just juking straight into him.
Maybe we'll see it again, to be honest.
You guys are good?
Didn't look like Leask had moved a whole lot as the German player hit him. But the disc will stay with Germany on the doorstep.
This was brought back into play before everyone was ready. We'll go again. Shoreland on the disc. Those are off for the dump and a handy catch, reach behind.
Elliot Cook on the mark, working hard.
Ooh.
Maybe got a fingertip on that.
Looked like a left-handed dump. I'm not sure if he's left-handed himself, but came off like he's not.
And we've got a pick call. The front double bicep signal. Informative and nice to look at. The Germans will get another opportunity, as will Australia. Can they get a block? Their end zone stand continues.
Germany have got no dump at the moment.
Stall count getting high, go for the hammer.
Wow. On a high stall count, go for the hammer option to the end zone. Confident that your teammate will collect it. It's a happy German team.
To my mind, that was a great defensive stand by Australia. Really making Germany work for that and end up taking a relatively high-risk option. And the Goannas will call another line.
Martin Voliber with the hammer there. Finds his twin, Andreas.
We mentioned earlier that all bar 3 of the Germans have played for their nation before. Australia equally experienced across the board. Many of their players having pulled on the green and gold before. They'll need to draw on that experience now as they attempt to overcome this 11-4 deficit. As the pool goes up, and it looks like Grimmond will retrieve it as he raises a hand above his head, signaling the break.
As the sun starts to drop in the sky, we hope the disc doesn't get dropped too many more times. We like to see some clean offense. I'm sure the Australian team will be hoping for that too.
Davis plays catch with Grimmond. And now Gann. Gann has gone to his hammer a number of times this game, generally pretty successfully. Evans to Grimmond. And Gann. Totally unmarked in acres of space. Grimmond just has to throw the nice little forehand over the top to him. And that looked easy.
Did. Germans with a slightly inside mark, but didn't really put off the Australian throws at all.
Grimmond a very strong thrower. He's one of those players, I think, when he's got the disc, you have to, your approach has to be to limit him as opposed to stop him.
Damage control.
That's right, minimize the amount of damage that he's going to go do to your team as a thrower. He's got the full toolbox of cheeky overheads and lefties and high releases, so it can be a real challenge to prevent him getting the disc to that break side.
It's been a shiny display of throws in this game. Possibly because they're on the camera, but perhaps this is pretty normal for everyone out there.
Yeah, look, we have seen a whole range of stuff. A lot of overheads despite the wind. Completely fearless in their option taking a lot of the time. Maybe sometimes a little too fearless, I might say, from the Australians. But if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword as well.
Categorically.
Without a doubt, Germany. It's led to an exciting game, though, and I think the crowd on the hill behind us would agree. Oh, we've got a stall call. The Australian transition to match.
Martin Voliber discussing the call.
But it was retracted. That was great spirit there. The Australian captain, Andrews, signalling, no, I don't think that was the stall. He got the throw out, and the call was retracted.
Voliber back on the disc. Goes for the deep option. There's a call.
Can we please have the Canadian men team?
Looks like it may have been a foul call.
For dinner, please. That's the Canadian
An uncontested
team
foul call.
And the Denmark team, please, for dinner.
But it may have been an offensive foul if the disc is coming back. And the disc will come back in.
Looking for his dump. Finds one from the stack. And a swing. Schlosser working really hard out there, spreading his wings to show he's open. Looked off for another deep shot.
Revine, hot pursuit, lays out!
Massive bid from Hornshammer. Doesn't quite manage to reel that one in, but what an effort.
What an effort indeed. Revine does just enough to put the pressure on. The disc was coming in blazing hot. As you see again, both players going full extension, fully horizontal, and not able to reel it in.
Those two are a good matchup. They've got very similar physiques, staying tight to each other.
And Linus Mueller brings the disc back in. A player of his stature, you don't look at him and immediately think handler, but he uses his length to great effect to break that mark initially.
Like a good secret handler.
Leask with the disc, having to work hard. Doesn't have a lot. Hail Mary deep. He's got Thompson underneath. Thompson, one of the quicker players on the team.
Oh.
Pulls it in.
Andreas Voliber couldn't quite get his hand to that one. Australians managed to get another one on the board.
Trent Thompson bails Australia out. The stall count was getting close to 10. Leask was forced to just jack it to the end zone. And Thompson, who was waiting at the back of the stack, delivers what his team needed, and that was a bailout.
These bids and catches are pretty monstrous at the moment.
As we see again that bid from Harrison Revai. Incredible effort. And we see here Alex Leask didn't have a lot open for him early in the count. Andrews having to take a couple of movements in the dump space, and eventually Leask just throws it at the end zone. Thompson does a great job of getting there and pulling that one in. Now, other than playing a whole lot of ultimate frisbee, I do believe Trent Thompson holds down a job as a topless waiter on a cruise boat the rest of his time.
You are joking.
I'm not. It's true. 100% fact. So if you do get a chance to see him after the game, ask him to take his shirt off. I'm sure he'll oblige. And you won't be disappointed either, because Australia come down on defense.
Well, I know where I'm heading after this game.
And that one out the back of the end zone, rolled out, which means Germany will walk it to the front of the end zone, directly up, straight in front of where the disc exited the field.
There's a lot of noise here on the sideline. Can't tell which team it's coming from. Go Annas.
Pressure pays off with a short field turn. Gann with the disc, goes fat side with the forehand. Oh. Bill Foreman got two hands to it, but just can't close the mitts. And it bounces out. Disappointed with that one. You saw the disappointment flash across his face. That was the opportunity to go 3 in a row for Australia.
Germany in a slightly tougher part of the game for them, with Australia picking up their game somewhat, and Germany still having to maintain this lead.
And the wind is picking up as well as the Australian intensity, and that might act as the 8th defender that Australia needs right now. And it has. Murphy's immediately shooting to the end zone, but no one's picked it up. Gann eventually does, but isn't interested in the bomb. Instead goes to Grimmett in the center of the field. Goes to Murphy. Moves it across the field quickly. Moving it well. Fat side forehand over the stack. He's got Gann underneath it. That is a visionary throw in difficult conditions. Showing exceptional technique. And Australia go 3 in a row to take it to 11-7.
Momentum moving to Australia at the moment. This happens in most games. There's a shift in momentum, and at the moment Australia are riding that wave at the moment.
Looks like the Goannas may have their swagger back.
What are you seeing down there, Joy Lee?
Yes, the swagger is definitely back, guys, and it sometimes can take a little bit of time to see the results of the changes that you're putting in place. We saw at halftime a new approach from these Goannas, a bit more of a lightened mood and playing for each other, and now we're starting to see the dividends in play. So, and we can, down here on the sideline, you can hear that difference, and you can see it as well on your screens.
Thanks, Joy. I think you're absolutely right. The change in atmosphere is palpable from the commentary box. We can feel the vibes coming from the Australian team now. They're a lot more up and about. There's smiles on faces. They're a lot more energetic. Whereas now it's the Germans with their heads down and the slumped shoulders. The tables have turned.
That's right. Something that hasn't really changed today is the wind. And at a latitude of 30 degrees south, Perth sits on the edge of the roaring 40s, which is a band of strong westerly winds that flow around the southern hemisphere. And although they make for challenging frisbee conditions, they're definitely beneficial for wind farm energy production, which Australia is currently in the midst of transitioning from traditional fossil fuels to cleaner, greener forms of energy generation. And will probably be meeting a quarter of its energy needs from wind, solar and pumped hydro plants by the time these under-24s hit 30. How cool is that?
That's amazing. You learn something new every day. I did not expect to learn that while commentating a frisbee match, but there you go. Thank you for that, Hussey.
No problems. Currently have a house guest working in the wind energy sector, so getting a bit of intel from her.
Excellent, excellent. So the Goannas, they're all aboard the comeback train now. They'll see if they can ride it, this wave of momentum to continued success. After their big victory this morning, I know that their coach emphasised that there's a whole lot of tournament to go. It was game one on their first day of play, and they couldn't relax and they couldn't get complacent. And despite that warning, maybe they did at the start of this game, but the scoreline at half was enough of a warning. And the Goies have switched back on, and you can see just how dangerous they can be when they're at full fire and at full pace and at full energy. We've seen moments of brilliant play as the Germans reach deep.
Shaw's pumped it.
Mueller's underneath, and he's a big boy. Can he get it? Beautiful shot from the Germans. But Linus Mueller up to the task and will pick it up and get the disc moving. His backhand, however, pops up in the wind. He's got a couple of players underneath it, Leask and Cook. And we're going to have a chat. The disc did go to ground. The game advisors may be able to provide us with an insight.
Right?
So, I don't need to pick it up, right?
Players have resolved that on their own.
Looks like the call was retracted. Perhaps. It was indeed. They'll tap the disc to indicate play restarts. And the Germans will have a short field opportunity.
David Metzger picking up. Spirit captain for Germany. Finds Schall. Oh, it's back to Metzer. Metzger shouting some instructions to his team. Store's coming back in on 4. Fanchal. Nice leading throw. Easy goal for Germany. Jan Schmidt with the assist there.
And the Germans stopped the bleeding. I know that one of the German team's focuses throughout this tournament is to be 100% engaged and 100% focused throughout every single point of every single game.
Wow, that's quite a goal.
It is
very
a goal.
Difficult to achieve.
And I think we saw it maybe lapse a little bit there when Australia went on a couple of point run. But they've managed to switch back on and put that one in. And we'll see if they can stay engaged for the rest of this game. I was just speaking to them earlier, and I know that they're here for the long haul. they're not just looking at pool play, they're looking at bracket play and beyond. They want to be here at the business end of the tournament. And if they're going to do that, if they're going to continue their success that they had this morning against the Philippines, they'll need to be engaged like that, and they'll need to play their best quality frisbee.
Yeah, frisbee is an endurance sport in terms of mental strength. You need to be able to maintain focus, concentration throughout the whole game, throughout a whole week. A lapse in concentration will mean a lapse in quality play.
Grimmond with the scuba over the top to Foreman. Foreman will swing. Finds Murphy. Goes the hammer. The Aussies are not afraid of a hammer.
Oh.
And why would you be when they reap such rewards as they find Gann in the back of the end zone for the goal?
Yeah, Australia have found another gear now. Germany were trailing on all of those cuts. And then Australia just using that hammer to really penetrate the break side of the field.
You get a sense that the Goannas believe again, that they have a bit more faith that they can get this job done. They're getting around each other and they're nice and loud on the sidelines now. Early on, they were very quiet. We commented on how quiet they were, not only in the first couple of points, but also in their warm-up, which is uncharacteristic for them. They're usually a very vocal team.
Yeah, that's right. And on the flip side, Germany definitely quietened down somewhat. Can't hear much noise from them. Their sideline are coming off and just getting some refreshment themselves. Letting the next line take instruction from the coaches. There doesn't seem to be much bounce on the German line at the moment, but they're a pretty cool bunch, so I'm sure they've got their plan in their heads. See if they can take this game forward.
I think so far the story of this game has been defensive runs, big shifts in momentum. Germany had the momentum behind them in the first half. They got out to an early lead and eventually going on a 6-point run to go up 10-3. And then Australia came back and they got a few in a row. And now things are a bit more even.
Honchmer with the disc. Finds Hartman. No, not Hartman. Follower. Mayer, the youngest player. Hartman sticks a loopy deep one, and there's a bit of a tangle of feet preventing the German offense from reaching the flight of the disc.
It's Alex Lease from Australia who got tangled up there.
With Shoreland from Germany.
I felt like the Australian initiated the contact.
Cut across it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. But you came into me there. I was in front of you. I just wanted to block your way.
Game advisors,
Yeah, you wanted to
Sheila.
block my way, so you came into my way. So that's, you just ruled yourself like wrong there and myself right. You said you wanted to come into my way to block my way. Yeah, I'd like to ask you.
Yeah, what we saw was that Australia initiated the contact.
So he just said he came into my way on purpose and to block. Let him explain. Yeah, you can explain. Yeah, I did come into your way. I was all the time was in front of you. No, so, yeah, no. Yeah, I was. No, I have position. I established position.
Can we say it's like an offsetting pass?
You can if you like.
Would you guys agree? I think like you both initiate a contact, so it goes back.
I really want you to. Okay, guys, it's got to be contested because we're taking all the time now. So all the information is there. Yeah. Are you sure? Because you just said you're coming into my way. I really think we should think about it. Yeah, I expressed it a little maybe badly, you know. Okay, it doesn't look like getting anyway, so let's get the game going.
So a discussion that can't be resolved means that the disc will go back to the thrower. game advisors shared the information that they had. Benji and Sheila. Players still couldn't resolve their discussion, and so the Frisbee goes back. German maintain their offense.
Revai will bring the disc back in on the mark.
Big loopy swing. Confidently taken down under pressure.
Dan Petrov just elevating and going horizontal, showing his incredible athleticism.
Hartman on the disc. Finds Hornschumer. Looking for an option. Tips it to the end zone. Not clear enough option, and Australia get in there and get their revenge.
Trent Thompson getting the job done there for Australia. Sticks out the left hand, swats that one away, says, not in my house. You're getting away with that. And Mueller immediately gets the disc moving, finds Leisk. Looks like we've got a pick. It's a pick call on Harrison Revai as he came under. It's back to Elliot Cook. Cook and Leisk have played a lot of ultimate together. They play together on the Brisbane club team in Australia, Mammoth, for a number of years now. They have a great idea of what each other wants and what each other will look for and where each other will cut to. And Leisk with the disc. Rips the backhand. Looking for Andrews, but not able to connect. In fact, the disc went out of bounds early and maybe it didn't come back in.
The disc didn't have the legs, and Schlosser was there for the German defense to collect it, even if it did sit up.
It's felt just a couple of times this game that when the Australian handlers have seen Andrews heading deep, they're almost willing to throw it regardless of where the defense is. Now, no doubt Andrews is a strong player with incredible athleticism, but you still have to respect the German defense and choose the right options and pick the right moments to huck it to him.
Yeah, no ifs or buts about that. Scholan sends one with a bit of miscommunication.
Yeah, and a bit of premature celebration as well, I think.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was a panic arms, but yeah, I think you're right there. Retracted celebration arms.
Yeah. Again, desperation huck to nothing.
Oh, he held on to that throw a little bit long. Shanked it.
He did, but there's a whole lot of discussion happening in the stack. No one's heading anywhere. So clearly, something's being discussed. Yeah, not entirely clear what.
The feeling of this game has changed a lot since the beginning.
Was there a call?
It was a panic throw.
There was a foul. Foul call.
Looks like the disc will go back to the hands of Elliot Cook. He'll want that one back. Not his prettiest looking throw that he's ever thrown. Elliot Cook with the disc. We've got Linus Mueller in front of stack.
Yeah, there was
in the
no
dump space.
I'm throwing a panic
Revai.
because there was a foul in the stack. Yeah.
Revai, Leisk, Thompson, downfield, Petrov in the deep space. Andrews goes up line. Cook to Mueller. Mueller, big fake. Gets the mark moving. Petrov, quick dish. Cook holds on. Goes back to Petrov. It looks like that one just slipped out of his fingers, didn't want to let go. And the disc goes to turf. Not the moment for that kind of error.
Perhaps the sunscreen hands have worn off and it's getting a bit, their fingers are getting a bit sweaty.
Something got in there and it meant that Petrov couldn't hold on, and the Germans show their veteran cool and call it a timeout immediately. Recognising that at this late stage in the game, every opportunity from a short field position is crucial, and that converting this one may just be the nail in the coffin for the Goannas in this game.
Yeah, still only on 84 minutes, game's to 100, so a bit of time left in this game. Australia definitely have a chance of closing that gap, but it needs to be done right now if it's going to happen.
Australian coaching staff, all very experienced, and they'll be drawing on that experience now. Yuang, Timocles Copland and Alex Latamatos have all pulled on the green and gold in their own right at various times. Timocles, I believe, was named Australian Male Player of the Year a couple of years ago. They're all very well versed in ultimate. We'll see what they've drawn up defensively here.
Number 22, Andreas Volaba, ready to get this point restarted. Moves the disc a bit too far. Germany can't get on the end of that, and Australia have an opportunity to capitalise on this turn.
Mueller, up line. Doesn't use that opportunity to shoot. Big swing to Petrov. Finds Andrews. Goes back to Petrov. Australia playing safe. Not wanting to push anything. Hits Mueller underneath. You can feel the intensity rising from the sideline. He goes crossfield with the hammer to Leisk, who holds on. The Goannas aren't done yet. Goannas are not done yet.
Yet another hammer goal. Just bread and butter here now.
As the sun's setting, it feels like the wind is dying with it. And Australia's taking advantage of those calmer conditions to hit those aggressive crossfield hammer shots into large spaces on the break side, often to relatively unmarked players. For another perspective, we'll go down to Joy on the sideline.
Yeah, hi guys. The wind has definitely died off a little bit in the last few points, and interesting. What an interesting game this has been. Australia's opened up the field big time with those crossfield hammers, but Germany have put away the hucks a little bit. In the first half, almost every point we'd see a very nicely balanced, flat huck from one end of the field to the other, and they've still got their characteristic patience and discipline, but Australia are getting a few blocks with their pressure and a few execution errors creeping into the German side as well.
Yeah, I think that's an adjustment by the Germans in response to a couple of good aerial Ds by Australia. Mueller got involved in a couple. Murphy also got one, I believe. The big Australian boys showing that they can play ball when you send it long. And Australia bring out the zone.
Germany working it. Looking to move it where they want to.
That's going to float. Oh, Sam McGuckin, a lot of contact, and the German player, Schock, has gone down. Looks like he's in a lot of pain.
It did. He made a big scream. Did not sound comfortable at all.
McGuckin getting involved in that contest, Unfortunately, there was a fair bit of contact, and Shock has landed awkwardly. And will hop off the field, supported by his teammates.
It was a great grab by Shock.
And we see again, disc bubbled up, Shock lands, and then McGuckin lands just a moment behind, but he lands on Shock's lower leg.
Yeah, possibly an ankle sprain. Disc's back in. Metzger throwing the scuba. Van Schaal. Van Schmidt. Back to Metzger.
Germany going backwards. Australia will be happy with this.
Metzger doing a full circle to find an option there.
Oh, and Lachlan Murphy with the hand block stretches out the big long arms. Sticks it in front and says, give us the disc.
Lovely leading swing.
Andrews, bit chaotic downfield. Everyone wants to cut, goes over the top for Murph.
Bit of a casual push past pop there.
Maybe a little too casual.
Got a German ping. It's gone up seriously high. I can't look at that. I'll burn my eyes. Oh.
Rob Andrews
Just brings it down.
When that disc went up, he was about 25 metres away. He ate up the ground. He's now heading to the end zone. Grimond goes crossfield with the backhand.
Vision from the German defender. Schaal, he read that from metres away. Committed fully. Full stretch D.
Incredible athletic play by the Germans. Responding to Australia's incredible play earlier. It's tit for tat right now.
No disc is left uncontested at the moment. Germany moving across the field quickly. Popping it over that wall with some skillful high release backhands. Lots of pivoting to move the mark around and try and find an option. Goes for the hammer.
You feel like Australia keep having sniffs. There are opportunities. They're coming very close on a couple as the Germans swing it. And now they reach deep. Braden Cheng.
Jan Schmidt is asking whether he might have had a bid on that disc if there hadn't been contact made.
There was definitely contact made, and it definitely caused the German player to hit the ground.
Whether he had a chance at the disc is another question.
And it looks like he'll retract the call. Which, from my perspective, I think is probably the right outcome.
Yeah, another display of the effectiveness of self-officiation.
Absolutely. It's always a really great sign when you see someone retract a call. It means that they just totally trust the opposition. Australia now in a horizontal stack. Traditional wisdom is that a horizontal opens up the deep space. See if they use it.
Germany hot on the back.
Andrews. Oh, he was trying to rip a forehand, but it flubs it completely.
Yeah. Uncharacteristic error there.
Yeah, and it goes to turf.
Into the wind scuba. Germany getting a lot of forward momentum.
And there it is.
That's the risky throw that Australia's zone wanted to generate, but immediate reply from Germany with a massive foot block.
That was clutch. That was clutch. Incredible foot block from Germany on the sideline. Australia had a player streaming deep. They had Andrews with the disc. And the German defender steps up.
Can't see that player's number, but he deserves a shout out for that block.
They're now calling for a new disc. Pretty understandable. When Andrews rips a backhand into a player's foot from point blank range, it's going to do some damage to that plastic. That was an incredible stop. The Australian deep cutter had separation. If that disc had gone free, it seemed like a goal for sure. But Australia will have to do it again. They go over the top again. They've got players in the area!
Oh, what a heroic grab by Lars Schmidt. And it was Kraus that made that foot block earlier, number 12. Germany really asserting themselves again, showing what they're made of. They're made of blocks, they're made of layouts, they're made of impressive throws.
To be honest, when that hammer went up, I thought for all money that Australia was about to get the disc back.
Did feel that way.
Wasn't where the thrower wanted it to go, and there was an Australian player in the area, and McGuckin puts in a great effort.
But Lars Schmidt was totally committed to that catch. Got his long limbs underneath.
And we're at 13-9. Feels like we've reached a stage in the game where one team fires a shot and the other team responds. One team makes a punch and the other throws a counter punch.
Yeah.
It's back and forth.
Just under 5 minutes left till time cap.
We could potentially be hearing that siren.
Charles Poole comes angling in, and Australia scramble to stop it, get it in play.
Ha finds Bocce. Bocce originally a ballet dancer, interestingly enough, before turning his twinkle toe talents to ultimate frisbee, where he has found some serious success.
From pirouetting to pivoting.
Indeed. As Grimman gets the disc. Kanziri.
Germany working hard to try and contain.
Grimman now. Inside break to Cheng. Cheng goes backhand around. Finds Alex
Schmidt.
Gann. For a pretty regulation goal in the end. All being opened up by a lovely inside shot from Liam Grimman, the captain. And we see that shot again. Leaving Cheng with loads of space to throw that backhand onto Gann's chest. Shows you the damage and the danger that break passes can pose to a defense. Once one comes out, it can lead to another, which leads to another. And so often when you string breaks together, break throws that is, the goals are quick to follow.
That's right, make one break and you've moved the disc onto the side where your teammates are standing free. Shows the importance of getting your mark on early, getting it in the right position, working as a team, all sticking to the same plan.
And we'll see what Australia's plan of choice is here. They've played a lot of zone this game, and it has brought them turns, and they'll be doing it again.
Don't think Germany will be upset about this. They've successfully marched through this zone a few times.
As Australia transitions. Big Mueller on the mark.
Oh, just a lapse in concentration and execution on that throw.
Sean Davis looks to get it done quickly.
We have a big block from Andreas Voliba.
Sean Davis maybe getting a bit of end zone eyes there. Sprints to the disc. And then throws a very ambitious outside in forehand that a German's able to get a hand on. This will give Australia an opportunity to play defense on the German end zone line. As the crowd really starts to pick up their volume, as does the sideline, and the Germans launch it.
Oh, pulled down by Sholan, who collapsed under the pressure of his own concentration.
Looks like we've got a pick call somewhere.
Yeah, can Australia take advantage of this home ground situation where there are lots of Australians around to offer some support, whereas the Germans are a long way from home?
The Goannas do strike me as a team that feeds off positive energy, feeds off talk and noise. So you'd think so. Whether it will be enough to make the difference, the next couple of points will tell.
And gently walked in. Schollen gets the goal for Germany, taking them to 14 points.
They're on the precipice now of the game. You feel like that may have been a nail in the coffin for Australia. A lot of heads down. It would take a heroic effort to come back from this position. It is game point. As we said before, only moments away from time cap. Not that that will impact. It'll be a game to 15 regardless. In fact, we have now hit time cap. The Australians will have to go 5 in a row if they want this one in the bag.
It's a possibility. But if you ask one of the German players, I doubt they would agree.
Who do we have on this Australian line? We've got Grimmond, Kanziri, Boche, Ha, Gan, Cheng, and McGuckin. These are the 7 players who have the job to get it done when their team needs.
Big roller pull from Charles. The disc lands in but rolls out. So it gets to be walked up to the front of the end zone at the point which it left the field. Germany have got a bit of a poach in the lane on defense. Possibly a zone up the front.
Boche gets it back, now to Ha, chipping it around as the Germans transition. Boche gets free arms, rips it backhand, he's got a couple underneath.
Oh.
And McGuckin will call a foul.
There's definitely a lot of contact in there.
So, okay, hey, if you.
And McGuckin retracts the foul. Very happy to walk away from that one.
The matching physiques of Schmidt and McGuckin leave the discussion there. Oh, Schmidt went for the grab, but didn't manage to complete it.
And Grimmond immediately seeing Kanziri on the far side, hits him. Australia not done yet. They've got more left in the tank that they're willing to give.
Wind's picking up again. Germany will have to play an upwinder to try and finish this feisty Goannas team off.
At what point do you think the Germans begin to doubt? Does a little bit of worry creep into the back of their mind and they say, what if the Australians get another one and another one?
They don't strike me as a bunch of doubtful people. But They are human. Doubt can strike even the strongest minds at any moment.
It's true. And as soon as those thoughts enter the back of the mind, things get dicey. Bill Foreman ready to pull. He's been ripping some rollers. And there's another one.
Oh.
Through the legs of the German player to roll out the back of the end zone.
No one's really been brave enough to catch one of these slicing roller pulls.
As you can see there how much power it had on it. Rolled all the way up the hill.
Adding a bit more time for that possibility of doubt to creep in to the German minds.
Yeah, as a handler, that walk up from the back of the end zone to the front of the end zone with the disc in the hand is a scary one. I'm sure you've done it a number of times.
Yeah, plenty of times, and I've thought about a whole array of things during that time.
A little bump on the mark. I think it'll be quickly uncontested by Adrian Lim. And the Germans will continue their offense.
Back in. Germany in their end zone, their defensive end zone. Feeling the pressure, but looking calm.
And Australia have transitioned. There's not a lot happening downfield for the Germans. Finally, they get a cut underneath.
2 cuts at once. Like buses, wait forever and then they all come along at once. Dangerous drop there from Hornschimmer. Jumped a little bit too high, was trying to be safe, but overjumped.
Andrews with the disc, hits Petrov underneath, a couple of meters out. Goes back to Andrews, wanting to make sure of this one. Finds Evans. And hits Lim in the middle of the field at the front of the end zone. We've got a game on our hands.
Oh, we do. Let's have a little chat with Joy down on the sideline.
Yes, yet another chapter of drama in this game. And as the sun sets here, it's actually quite tricky conditions. You can see that the lengthening shadows coming across the field. The light's not very strong in those shadows. The overhead lights have just turned on here at McGillivray Oval, but when you punctuate into a sunny patch, that can be temporarily quite blinding. And Australia at the moment, perhaps a bit of that home ground advantage for the Perth players or West Australian players who have played on this field a number of times already.
Yeah, interesting thought. I wonder if experience in low sun combined with overhead floodlights will pay off.
It is an interesting thought. And the home ground advantage as well. There are definitely a couple of Perth players on this Australian Goannas team. And they could well have played on these very fields before. Jackson Bocce, Jeremy Hart, Brendan Kanziri, all native Western Australians. They've grown up and played a whole lot of ultimate in this city. Ash Evans as well grew up in this state, but now plies his trade in Melbourne on the East Coast.
Yeah, Perth, a good place to surf and a good place to pound this beautiful turf. There's a lot of pounding going on out there. Love it when you hear the thwacking of 14 cleated feet, working hard to get results in the sport that they love.
I couldn't agree more, Huss. I couldn't agree more. And we'll see which 14 cleated feet are out there on the line for Australia now. This is a do or die defensive moment for them. And they're going upwind. All the odds are stacked against them. Wisdom would say it's unlikely and improbable they'll get the job done. But with a team this talented and this hungry, never say never. if you ask me.
Okay, Germany receiving the pull here. Pull's gone out. It will be bricked. David Metzger, spirit captain, bringing the disc in. Wonder what's going through his head right now. Break, dump. Recentering the disc.
The Australians running another zone, but a different zone to what they were doing earlier, and they now transition out of it. Australians doing a great job putting pressure on the reset. And the Germans eventually find an outlet.
Yeah, the German handlers are looking calm, but they are getting forced back a little.
It looks like we've got a pick call.
Transition back to match defense. The German stacks looking fairly stretched at the moment, but still quite a good lot of space deep if they want to strike.
Germans working it up this line.
Shaw pulls that down up the line.
Looks like Thompson may have just clipped his ankles and he still manages to hold on as he goes tumbling to the turf. As we see again. Perhaps he didn't hold on.
I think
we're back in. 15 meters out. The Germans 15 meters away from a second win for the tournament.
Germany haven't really shown signs of red zone fever, and it'll be interesting to see if it shows up now. Forward pass to Metzger, finds the swing.
And we've got a call up field. There's a German player down on the ground, clutching his thigh, groin region. Potentially another injury. Never a good sign.
Oh. It's a well-worked area in an ultimate player, the hip and groin region. Don't really want to get that damaged if you can help it.
No, absolutely. But it looks like he'll be fine. He won't leave the field. He'll give it a rub and everything's good to go.
Catches his breath. We're back in with Schmidt. Jan Schmidt.
And a miscommunication, and Australia has an opportunity. They immediately jack it. Elliot Cook underneath with 3 Germans.
Jan Schmidt comes up with the goods, gets that D, uses his height and his timing. It's a good read on the disc. Australia have managed to slow the reply. Nearly got that block, but it snuck through to Schmidt again, who's all over this point.
Thompson bids on the up line.
Germans making very careful throws. Moved it right the way across the field, stretching that Australian defense. Finding the unders, taking what they're given.
And an uncontested foul on the throw, immediately uncontested by Mueller. Very happy to uncontest that one. Clearly a bit of contact on the throw. It did come out wobbly. But the Gohanners are fired up. The noise levels are through the roof right now on the sideline. Everyone is on their feet. Everyone is standing up for this. They can sense that something special may be on the cards.
Yeah, I think they've puffed their necks up now. Okay, Germany looking to complete this. They're getting a lot of attention from the Australian defense.
Yeah, a fair bit of bump and grind on the mark there from Alex Leask.
Discovering the textures on each other's lower limbs. Limb to limb. Okay.
Looks like we've got another Paul on the mark, another foul. Doesn't look like Leask will contest again.
Shayet with the disc. Faking to try and move that defender and finds the hole. Germany have taken the game. David Metzger with the goal.
And Germany have put that one away. They found the opportunity to seal this one. It's written in the books and it's written in ink. This one's not getting changed. Germany take the win, 15-12. The Australian goannas going down early, giving themselves too much of a deficit to bring back. They went on a 3-point run early in the second half, but it wasn't enough, and we get another look at it. Thompson working incredibly hard in that dump space. Lovely little jink move by the German as he cuts up line.
The Germans will be feeling quite relieved at that. They had I think they were feeling the pressure there at the end of the game with a massive change in momentum going the goannas' way. Germans are ready to shake hands now, but the Australians are just having a quick debrief before they move over to move into the Spirit Circle proceedings that follow every ultimate game at a World Championship level. It's a really, really wonderful part of the game where the teams get in a circle where they alternate and they discuss how the game went. They discuss how the spirit went in the game and share a bit of fun sometimes as well.
All right, and we'll now have a quick look back at the game that was. Early in the game, it was all about Germany's conservative play. They were able to string passes together, willing to throw a lot of disc back and forth. But in the end, Australia not able to put a stop to it. Australia tried a number of different defensive looks, both zone and match, and in the end, Germany had an answer for all of them. And that's it from day 2 at the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. I've been Max Stenstrom.
I've been Claire Hussey.
Thank you very much for keeping us company. Do come back tomorrow. We've got a whole bunch more great games. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then.
Ciao for now.